Welcome into Bleav in Twins episode 24, emergency edition, spontaneous episode, bring to you today. I am Anders. I can't even say my own name because I'm so excited. I'm Anders Pryor, joined alongside my wonderful, excellent, exceptional, and handsome co-host, analyst, expert, and Twins fan, Zac Tipton. Zac, how are you? Great to see you. We have one big piece of breaking news driving this episode, and then another piece of breaking news that just came across our desk midway through preparing for the show. So,
Yes, not Twins news, but that's not gonna be news. It's still pretty big MLB news in general. So
yeah,
love that for us. We have a major Twins breaking news
yeah.
here. I woke up this morning to it and I was like, what in the world is happening? Alex Kiriloff, one of the first of like the Levine Falvey guys who was like a top prospect, has announced his retirement at age 26. Alex Kiriloff, for those of you that don't know, a lot of Twins fans will know who Alex Kiriloff is, but Alex Kiriloff, for a lot of you don't know, was basically a top 20 prospect for his entire minor league career. He was that guy for the Twins. He was like the Brooks Lee for the Twins, really. He was fantastic. He was great to watch the minors, and he was really hyped up to be this perennial guy that was going to be our first baseman / outfield for pretty much years to come. However, like we've seen with a lot of top Twins prospects, injuries got in the way of that pretty quickly. He's had injuries on basically everywhere. I mean, I can look up. I don't exactly like for sure. The main one was his back. Like that was the main one here. That was the main one. And so it was just like he's had, but the main one was his wrist. Actually, sorry, the back kind of came in recently, but his wrist was the main issue. Like he had an injury on his wrist in 2021, an injury on his wrist again in 2021, another injury on his wrist in 2022, an injury on his wrist in July of 2022, another injury to his wrist on August of 2022, another injury to his wrist on March of 2023, and then it was a shoulder injury in July and another shoulder injury in October. And then most recently, midway through this season, he had a back injury that basically took him out for the year. And he tried playing through, but it didn't really go too well. But he had a back injury in June of this year that kind of ended his season and now officially ended his career. So Alex Kiriloff had just been plagued by injuries, and so he released a full letter this morning at around 7:30 a.m.
Yep.
And this was what it said. I'll just read it here.
Yeah.
After 9 seasons in professional baseball, I'm announcing my decision to step away from the game today. Baseball has always been a cornerstone of my life, starting with my childhood in Western Pennsylvania, where I grew up as the son of a baseball coach. Spending countless hours in the batting cages, hitting hundreds of balls daily, fueled my dream of playing Major League Baseball. Living that dream has been an absolute joy, and this journey has been filled with unforgettable moments, challenges that led to growth, and lasting experiences that have enriched my life beyond measure. In my 9 professional seasons, I've encountered numerous injuries, which led me to search for new ways to overcome the pain. These challenges have taken a toll on me mentally and physically. Over time, I've realized that my passion for the game has shifted. Baseball demands an all-in approach, something I've brought to every season. However, I can no longer give it the total commitment it requires. I've always believed that playing the game requires 110% effort, and anything less would not do justice to my teammates, coaches, fans, and the game itself. I am deeply grateful for the support I've received from my wife, family, friends, teammates, coaches, staff, and fans throughout my career. There are so many people to thank, and I will personally thank them. Your belief in me made all the difference, and I will be forever grateful. I'd like to thank the Minnesota Twins for giving me an opportunity. The things I was able to experience, I'll be able to take with me for the rest of my life. As I navigate the recovery process from my current lower back injury, I'm excited to focus more on my family and explore new opportunities. While this next chapter won't take place on the field, my story is far from over. With love and appreciation, Alex Kiriloff. And yeah, that was really well worded. We love Alex Kiriloff. It is sad though, because and I'll say this. So I tweeted this out. When I first started paying attention to like baseball more in depth, like I was always a baseball fan, but when I started paying more in depth to like the farm system, the team itself, all of that, Alex Kiriloff was the first prospect that you got really excited about on my thing. So like when I was looking at farm systems, Alex Kiriloff was the number 2 prospect because it was Royce Lewis still just gotten drafted. But Alex Kiriloff was the number 1 prospect and the number 2 prospect. And so to have Alex Kiriloff, be a guy that I watched, like heck, I still remember his first game ever was a playoff game. He was the first, I forget what it was, the first score, but he was like, he was the first win to like, have like his, I forget what his exact stat was, but he was like the first Twins player, to be called up and have his first at bat during a playoff game or something like that. And so Alex Kiriloff was called up for like one game in the playoffs. He actually had his first and only postseason hit during that game that we ended up losing and our season was over. But yeah, the first and only postseason hit during that game. Since then, he's gone 0 for 9 in the postseason in his actual career. And it was really kind of nuts. So this is sad for me. I am really sad to lose Alex Kiriloff. He was, like I said, he was a top prospect. But I will admit, like he was really fun to watch when he was healthy. He just could never really stay healthy. And to be honest, I don't know if we ever really saw him at 100%.
Right.
Personally, I don't really know if we ever really did see that. He was always injured. That it was like, is he actually playing it as without injury, or is he kind of just nursing an injury that he's trying to play through a little bit? So I don't know if we actually ever saw him play 100%. So this hurts. And Anders, do you have any thoughts you want to add on to this?
Not particularly. I mean, like, so 15th pick in the 2016 draft, 9 years with the organization, 8 full years. Everyone has like a sort of like, when they like first really get into baseball, like usually like the gateway to that they start looking at like minor league systems and look at like prospect ratings and like all that kind of stuff. And like the deep, like getting like really deep into like public models and stuff like that. And everyone has like a prospect like that for whatever reason that they just kind of like gravitate towards like really like unusually quickly for whatever reason. It doesn't even have to be one from your own team, but like it just kind of happens. So yeah. So it does suck, because he's only 26 and it's difficult for that. Sometimes that happens very naturally where like an older athlete is kind of at like a 50-50 point, and then they'll use maybe like a last straw as like a tiebreaker to make the decision a little easier for themselves. But yeah, it's not even like, it's something that, not like a freak injury. It just continuous small things. And yeah, no, it's real. Excuse me. It's really unfortunate. And I'm curious to see what he does, because usually when older people retire and they're with one organization for a very long period of time, or like for like 80% of their career, if you're like 35 or 36, then you get to, like you get, you go up and you become like like special assistant to baseball, whatever, right? They'll give you some sort of like manufactured title. But like it's hard to like envision that when you're 26. And I don't know, like like what role can be had with like, when you're 26, like, do you go into coaching and like what level is that? Right. Cause like he was drafted out of high school. So he doesn't have like, he doesn't really have like an alumni network from like a college to go to kind of fall back on. So he's kind of stranded. I'm sure he'll find something. Maybe he goes to the high school level, or maybe he goes into some sort of like scouting thing with some sort of, Minnesota college of some sort. I'm sure, but I really hope that he finds a way to stay in the game that he's genuinely passionate about at this age.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously it's sad, but I think we got to look ahead now to the future, which is, he was our guy kind of at the outfield. Like he was an outfield first base guy. He was a guy we trusted at first base. So it kind of comes down to what do the Twins do next? It really does. I don't even know if you really can kind of decide now, because you really have to figure out what. I mean, to be honest, they kind of had already done that, because he kind of hadn't played so much that they'd already kind of had to replace him at this point. So obviously I do think there'll probably be a signing or somebody that can take a first baseman signing this offseason. I think that's pretty much guaranteed, especially with Carlos Santana. I think at the end of his contract, you're definitely expecting a first baseman signing anyway, but this will just amplify that. They'll probably sign somebody that can play first base again. And then you'll probably sign another outfielder at some point this offseason, or you have a guy like Emmanuel Rodriguez who could be called up any minute that might take an outfield spot as well. So it really does suck and it hurts, but I'm glad he's getting the help he needs. And I'm glad he's kind of, realizing, and he stepped away when he felt like it instead of continuing to play when he was not 100% or not ready to, not really into it anymore. I'm glad he took that decision upon his own and made that decision. And so it's hard, but also I do respect him for it, and I respect the decision made here. And like I said, Alex Kiriloff was special. Like I said, he was a top 20 prospect for almost his entire minor league career. Like you were expecting him to be like a future, like he was supposed to be like that guy that was going to lead this team into this youth. He was supposed to be a leader of the youth movement currently happening on the team. He was supposed to be the leader of that with Royce. And so for him to not, and for him to now be out and him barely having played, it definitely hurts. It definitely sucks. But again, I just wish him the best of luck on whatever he does next. Again, that's really all I have there on the Alex Kiriloff situation.
Any impact that Luke Keeschel can make at first base won't really be relevant next year, just in terms of like where he's at.
I mean, it could be. He's flown up the rankings, but he is coming out from major injury too. So that's the other thing. So it's just
that's more of like a 2026 thing. So, realistically what I think might happen, obviously, like, I mean, when people were talking about like, oh, like should the Mets trade Pete Alonso before the season starts, like the Twins were like a name that were brought up, like as just like they had like prospects to offer the Mets and like they wanted to get some stuff. I don't know now if Pete is really an option, like just with the price tag. I mean, maybe depending on how this new ownership stuff shakes out, then maybe that becomes more of a possibility. I don't know if Pete would want to play for the Twins. I don't even know if he wants to leave the Mets entirely after how far they went. But realistically, what I think is going to happen is that it's probably going to be like a 2-year contract to like some sort of like transition person, like a Josh Bell or a Rowdy Tellez, or someone like that. Like a Garrett Cooper, or I'm trying to think of like someone like that. So, I think, like Wilmer Flores, I'm pretty sure is a free agent. I know he's more like pure utility. But there are options. Like there are people on the market for 2025 that like, I think, are young enough to where like you can make a timeline justification with a 2-year contract. And then, when we get to like 2026, start to transition Keishel into that first baseman role. But until then, yeah, we'll see what the solution is. But it sucks. So it's a hole to plug, and we'll see what happens.
Yes. So with that being said, there is one more news you want to break here.
Yes.
That we saw right before we came on, like literally 2 minutes before we came on, it was announced. So this is pretty breaking. According to Jeff Passan, the Atlanta Braves will receive right-hander Griffin Canning from the Los Angeles Angels for Jorge Soler. It seems like it's a 1-for-1 deal here. And it's completely the 1-for-1 deal here. Jorge Soler for Griffin Canning. Again, it seems like this, from what I'm hearing, it seems like it's a good fit for the Braves who have Acuna coming back. Griffin Canning kind of is a better fit for them now that they have Acuna back,
right,
according to some people here. So, Anders, you know a little more about the East than I do, so I would love to hear your thoughts on this here.
Well, the Braves don't know exactly what's going to happen with Max Fried, who's an unrestricted free agent, and I think right now they want to, the Canning, who I just as an age check, 28 years old, someone young and who they can have control over to kind of, put alongside like Schwellenbach and other young pitchers in their farm system. So I think this is kind of step one, AJ Smith-Shawver as well, who's already kind of seen a bit, but I think next year we'll have a bigger role. Him and Schwellenbach will kind of be more like kind of full force parts of the rotation, because they're going to get Strider back. So there's not they're going to get Strider back. So there's not immense pressure. There's not world crumbling pressure to re-sign Fried. They'd love to, obviously, and I think they can afford to. But if they can't, Soler, that's a pretty tradable bat. Frankly. So, he's good, but it's a bat that you don't really have a ton of issue moving on from. And, Canning's young. They have some control. He kind of works with their timeline. He's in his prime. So it kind of makes sense. I don't really know what the Angels. So for the Braves, it's a total win. And if they don't re-sign Fried, then Canning, I think, can step right alongside Strider and Schwellenbach, and kind of they can kind of manufacture together a strong young 3-headed monster on the starting front. On the end of the Angels with Soler, I have no idea what they're going to do with him, if they're going to keep him, if they're going to flip him. I have no clue. It kind of just seems like a really weird, benign move. So we'll see. But so for the Braves, I would say that's a really solid like A- move. For the Angels, it's like an NA. Like, I don't really know. I mean, I guess like a C, because I like Soler. But obviously the Braves immediately, I would say today, won.
Absolutely. And then there is one more piece of news I kind of want to bring up here with you, Anders, because we're here, might as well do it. That stays in division here with our Twins.
Yep.
Will Venable was hired, I want to say yesterday, the day before, as the new manager for the Chicago White Sox. Your thoughts on that hire?
So, first of all, I was kind of, the Grady Sizemore would have been fun, but
that is fair. It would have been fun. You're right.
It would have been fun. It would have been the most interesting story, but Venable, who comes over from the the Rangers organization. There were a couple people from it was him, and there was one other person from the Rangers organization who I thought was listed as a candidate, and that might be wrong, but maybe there was a second. I remember seeing the list. It was a lot of very unsurprising names. But no, I mean I think it's a good hire. He's young, he's 42, and so I think, clearly that's something that I think they want with this younger group, or a group that's trying to get young across the board. I think I think having someone who's young, but is also who has been part of some winning in the past few years, obviously being with the Rangers for the World Series, win in 2023. I think
and they also did say that Grady Sizemore will be kept on, and it will be like him and Venable kind of like duoing it out, basically.
Have they given Sizemore a title?
No.
Okay.
But they do Bleav that they want to keep Sizemore.
You keep him up as a part of the organization
because Venable really likes him.
Mm.
So, yes.
So, no, you get a young voice with experience, winning experience. So it kind of works out. And again, if the Sizemore thing, if he's kept along, right? It's not like they're booting him. It's not like he, there weren't really too much any expectations when he took over, as the interim. So I'm not really sure what you were supposed to judge him on, which is again, I think also kind of why it, because there were the reporting that he was being taken seriously as a candidate to overtake the full-time job. That was real thorough reporting that was real. They didn't go that route, but obviously you keep him more in the organization, and he didn't really because the bar was so low. He couldn't have really done anything in that stint as interim to lose his job. So I think the onboarding Venable is great, and I think the complement of keeping Sizemore in the organization also works out.
Yeah, no, I'm actually okay with this move. Actually, like I said, I'm a big fan of this move for the White Sox. I think this is a guy that can really take advantage, and he's worked under legends. He's worked under Cora, Bochy, and there's one other that I'm missing that he's also worked under. So for he has the resume. He's worked for a lot of great teams. I really like him a lot. I like this move a lot for him. And I like the move a lot for the White Sox. I think this makes the White Sox better. I do.
Yeah.
And so I do think the White Sox won't be as bad as they were last year.
Right.
That's a very low bar to say, so it makes it easy to kind of get stuff. Still.
And I'm, the Rangers, I'm trying to just look and see, Venables, Cubs, Red Sox, Cubs from 18 to 20, 21, 22 was with the Red Sox, and 23, 24 the Rangers. But I'm trying to look. No, hold on. I am looking where I'm trying to find just to make sure. Yeah, associate manager. That I just wanted to make sure that I was getting the title right. In that time that he was there, the Rangers had a lot of really big young players come up and contribute right away. So it's not like they're bringing in someone from a organization that's just pumping out cash to get guys like the Rangers. They're actually like Langford and Carter, and we said Langford, Carter, Young, Heim, all these guys, they've had young people either from the roster or from the farm system come up and contribute in the World Series in that run. So I think that was an experience for him that is maybe he's tied to that kind of production, and then also can bring that over to a group again that's trying to because not everyone that was on the White Sox roster was young. Like, they were awful across, but there were some older guys. I think they want to go like full reboot young, and I think that Venable is the right person to do that because of, again, like the Rangers have, like they were having, like even last year, like this past season, even though they didn't win as much, when they were winning, like it was because they had like 22, 23, 24-year-old players contributing consistently. So it's great.
Absolutely. And then final piece of business here, Anders, I want to kind of discuss right before we end it here. Final piece here. It is officially the off season.
Yes.
The World Series ended last night, and I can confirm that one of the two people sitting here in front of you was at the game last night.
I was at the game last night.
Can you guess which person it was?
I didn't away. Damn it.
Yeah. One of the three people sitting here at the table was at the game last night. Can you guess who it was? Anders, can you just talk about your experience first of all at Yankee Stadium? Obviously, it didn't go the way you wanted, obviously, but can you just talk about your experience at Yankee Stadium, the atmosphere, and just how crazy that game was, first of all?
Yeah. So, so the game was great. I mean, that the first home runs, like the home runs from like the,
Where were you sitting?
I was in the bleachers. I was in the bleachers.
Okay.
I was in the bleachers in left field, and it was pretty remarkable. Like the beer shower stuff, like during the home runs was so like there was so much raw energy. And that was my fourth Yankee game of the attendant of the year. The loudest pop I ever heard at a Yankee game entering that game, like to that point, was the one pitch fly out to Ohtani by Cole in the top of the first. Was like the loudest noise in a baseball game that I had heard at that point. And it was great. Zach and I were at a Red Sox game over the summer together, and Judge hit like a 470-foot something homer. And
it was a Yankees Red Sox game, to be clear. We were Red Sox. It was a Yankees Red Sox game.
Yeah. And like the fly out Ohtani did in the first inning one pitch was a louder reaction than that. It was just top to
obviously, because you're doing a Judge home run at Fenway. Like,
right.
It's obviously going to be loud. Right. It's obviously going to be louder than that.
No, of course. But everything was amazing. The atmosphere was great. Everything was great. I loved the whole thing, and just a super wonderful experience.
Awesome.
And I mean, the result was not great. Obviously, the air, 7 runs allowed, but 5 of them being unearned through errors. That really sucks.
The Judge drop was one of the more crazy things I've seen.
I was gonna say the Judge drop. I'm not even that upset about. The one that that was actually frustrated with was the Cole and Rizzo miscommunication.
Oh, like the first baseman not taking first base?
Exactly. Yep, exactly. That was not good.
So fun story for me was I was watching my dad and my stepmom are here in Phoenix right now. So I was at their hotel room and I watched the first few innings. It was 5-0. We were going to meet some friends up in North Phoenix for dinner, and then they were going to go to a haunted house. And so we were moving on North Phoenix for dinner. It was a 45-minute drive. It was 5-0 when we left the hotel. 45 minutes later when we got to the restaurant, it's 5-5. And I'm like, what just happened? What did we miss? It was not so. It was 5-0. I thought this game was over. Cole looked like he was in his zone. I was like, what is happening? Like, I didn't think this game was going to be playable. Like, possible for the Dodgers to come back. And then all of a sudden they came back, and then you guys took the 6-5 lead. And then everything just went to crap in the 7th and 8th innings there. With, I think, bases loaded, no outs in, like, the 7th inning.
Yeah.
And then, like, walk after walk after walk after walk.
Yep.
I actually did the calculations. I think there was 7 walks to 7 hits, something like that last night. It was like for the Dodgers. So no, it was a crazy game. Obviously, congrats to the Dodgers. Anders is definitely not as obviously it's unfortunate for Anders here.
No, I mean the person I feel the best for is Dave Roberts. I feel like I have positive, negative, and neutral opinions on. I feel like all managers. I feel like I have positive, negative, and neutral opinions on. Like I can assign that. I feel like I have a pretty neutral opinion of Dave Roberts as a manager. But obviously the whole the COVID ring thing and how it's not super legitimate. And I do agree that that ring does. I think it's incredibly intellectually dishonest with the sports community to say that ring does not have an asterisk. It absolutely does. I think it has to. Like the idea that you can equate, those, because even the fully healthy season rings, they're not not all of those are created equal anyway. So it's
to say a 70 season ring
right,
is a 70 game season ring is
exactly. So
I agree.
But now
I
all of that, I have criticized that very publicly. Now all of that, and I still do think that ring has an asterisk. But now for Dave Roberts, just in terms of the perception of him, he's clean in terms of his ability as a proven winner. So he's the person I feel the best.
I agree, although I will admit that I have Dodger fan friends that absolutely despise Dave Roberts and want him gone. So, or they did before this. So we'll see. Obviously, congrats to the Dodgers. Anders, obviously, this is not how you wanted the season to end. You were very confident that the Yankees were going to win the World Series here.
Yep. Yeah, I was. I really was.
And I was kind of confident also that the Yankees would win, so I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not against that. I will admit that I did have the Yankees and Dodgers at least in the World Series, so that was a really cool call for me to have that.
When Flaherty got those blow-ups and was taken out in the second inning, in your head, I was like, okay, if it was going to go bad for the Dodgers and they were going to blow this thing, this is exactly what we all thought it would look like. And then
the starting pitching and
then Roberts just is like, nope, I got it. Cause
I got a guy for this. And
exactly.
I got a guy for this. It's I will admit and there's again here, we do need to hype one guy up here who has been constantly dragged on the show in the last couple times in this past week. Mr. Walker Buehler. Anders has called him broken a couple times on this show. Anders, do you still feel that way?
I don't know. I want to see next year. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what he's like with just a full breadth of everything. And I really hope his workload in the offseason is light. I don't really think you can really treat him as a normal starting pitcher going forward. I just don't think you can. I think you have to provide appropriate context to his offseason regimen. But I am excited to see what he looks like with a full year next year. I don't think he's going to be, I don't really know if he's capable of a sub-3 ERA year at this point. But I do think that he can be a really solid 3.8, 3.9 third pitcher for them next year.
No, I agree.
That's what I think he is at this point. I think that magic stuff that we saw a few years ago, I don't know if his body is really, and this might totally come back to bite me, and I understand. I don't really know if his body will allow him to do that at this point.
Yeah, no.
So
okay. Well, then with that, Anders, one last thing here is, do you think the Yankees will get Soto back? Do you want Soto back at this point with his price? And then like with the price that he'll probably have,
Yeah.
do you think the Yankees will get Soto back? And then also just your thoughts overall on just in my opinion, was the big thing here is the runners in scoring position at bats by the Yankees were absolutely terrible yesterday and throughout that series. And just your thoughts on those. I'd like to ask.
So for the Soto bit, like I do want him back. I just think that like that left right that you can do with him and Judge is irreplaceable. Obviously, if we were to sign him, there would be some sacrifices to that. Obviously, Gleyber Torres is an unrestricted free agent after this year. He would probably be someone that we would have to sort of decide, hey, like you were great here and we're really excited that you were a part of the young core being up. But at the moment, like we can't afford to bring you back. I am glad that we kept him though for as long as we did. I'm glad that we did not trade him. That it almost happened twice.
There were a couple times right that Gleyber was
so I'm glad we kept him, but he would probably be someone that we would have to let go of. Clay Holmes would also be a name that would probably have to be sacrificed. Obviously, you're kind of hoping that weird month and a half stretch that he had was an outstand and not a real kind of magnification of who he actually is as a pitcher. And so it would that would kind of suck, but he would be someone again like those are two names like I would be willing in those that sucks because I have batted for Gleyber to not be traded for 2 years now, and I have been a very not as strong as I used to be, but I have always been on the stronger and more optimistic side of the Clay Holmes kind of debate. But those would both be names that I would be willing to sacrifice to get Soto 1,000%. So yeah, and in terms of the on the runnings and scoring position stuff. I mean, I don't have a super particularly strong opinion on that. But like again, like I think that's why Soto is like super important. And I also trust like the Yankees farm system. Like if you like obviously like we have Jazz moving forward, right? And so if Gleyber were to leave after this year, Jazz would just be immediately plugged in at second base, his natural position. And so, third base would be kind of the one to fill. Obviously, DJ is still an option. There are plenty of folks out there who could fill that spot. And then in terms of just people in general, like again, like I'm a big fan of the Yankees farm system. Obviously, no, not just Dominguez and Jones, who are kind of like the big names, but like Chase Hampton is a name that I think is really exciting to a lot of people. He's dropped a little bit in the stands, but he's still someone that I'm really excited about. And he just with injuries, it's difficult. Obviously, Will Warren, when he was up in the majors this year, was not good. I don't think that's a really super accurate reflection of who he is as a pitcher. And then in terms of the infield stuff, I mean, obviously, Oswald Peraza has had a weird relationship with the majors in terms of just when he's up and then when he is up, how does he perform? It's just all kind of chaotic. But like George Lombard Jr., someone who we drafted. Obviously, his ETA is 2027. That's a little bit down the road. But again, if we're thinking long term here, like I trust the long term kind of projects that we have to fill the spots that would be sacrificed by paying Soto. So,
Okay, perfect. Well, then Well, then that is all I have for us, Anders. Here, that was a fun little emergency pod with a few other
emergency pod.
with a few other regular pod questions on there. And yeah, no, I'm really hyped for that. And yeah, but yeah, no, I'm really excited for that. But anyway, we will let you go here. We will let you have the sign off here, Anders. You want to do the sign off, and then
I would love
thank you again for watching. We're glad we could do a little emergency pod here to break down Alex Kiriloff.
Yeah, no, lots of cool stuff to do. Yeah, no, I'm glad we did this. Our first real emergency. I mean, we probably maybe would have done something anyway, but I'm glad we got to do it in the way that we did today. That's always fun. So I'll happily sign us off. Guys, this has been the Bleav in Twins podcast, episode 24, emergency edition. Alongside Zac Tipton, I have been Anders Pryor. If you want to listen to and download our show as well as all other Bleav Network shows, you can go and download our content on the Bleav.com website. If you want to listen to our shows, you can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your sports media throughout the week. If you are watching us here on YouTube, please subscribe, turn on post notifications and comments, and let us know what you think of our content. And we will, pending some sort of, massive something, see you guys on Monday. Go Twins. Congrats to Alex Kiriloff on making his dream come true, and good luck with retirement and finding your next step. Happy official start of the off season. Excited to go through it with you guys. Zac, great to see you as per usual.
See you.
See you guys.
See y'all.